Hello everybody, my name is Ed Crimson Queen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first ever video, but it is not my first ever video on YouTube, nor is it my first redstone video. However, this is a format I've not tried before, so I hope you like it. So a bit of background. About a year and a half ago, I was playing on a Minecraft server, and I had a cool underground bunker style base, Cold War, military kind of type thing. And I needed a cargo lift for players to get up and down between the levels. And I had a bit of a difficulty making it, but eventually I came up with a small design. And I was really impressed with it. So I kind of just kept adding to that design. And then it got better and better. And eventually I decided that it could get so good that it could maybe be worth making a whole video about. As you can probably guess, this is that video, and I hope it will be interesting to you as much as it is to me. Let's get right into it. I thought the first place to begin would be with the actual machine itself. The machine is a very nice design because it is 12 blocks exactly on the top and just 5 on the bottom, which means that if the top gets stopped by any block, it will freeze. Now normally this could be a problem, but I figured out a way to exploit that by having effectively a braking system where the machine is stopped from the side instead of on top or below, which means that to a user you don't have to show any actual redstone besides a few removable objects in the elevator shaft. But you of course could shave this down a bit, cut it down to this size, and I've made the catching system in a way that it will still work because it has to obviously fit within the shaft and not stay active when it doesn't want to be. So how this works is very simple. This machine, it needs 2 inputs. One is an input for this observer and piston. The second is for this brake. This is because flying machines work in a very funky way. They're basically 2 friends, we'll call them for this friends or pistons, a down and an up. If the flying machine is even more simple, it would actually be a regular piston and a sticky piston. And the way it basically works is one piston has to push the other piston before that second piston will pull the first one towards it again. And this cycle can repeat over and over again. Only because of observers' one-tick pulses can that happen in both directions with sticky pistons, basically. Well, not just observers, but observers are the easiest way to do it. And because of this funky way these flying machines work with observers, if you blocked the machine from moving after doing this, it will become in an open state, is that how I like to say. And then if you wanted to release the machine and tell it again to pull in the downward piston, now it moves up. So in this case, 2 downs can mean up. And 1 down can mean down. This is a principle I'm using a lot in my own machine, as that is the core of how it works. But when you stop the machine, But when you want to stop the machine at the other end, you have a problem. When it goes up, the machine pulls itself shut when it stops, as it stops from the top piston, meaning the last one to fire will be this, and this one can't then push the top up anymore. But when it goes down, as shown before, it ends up in this bad open state, which is a problem because it means if this retracted now, a person going into the elevator would think, oh, I'm gonna press the down button, and then the elevator would go, okay, we're gonna go down now, but then this piston would go, nope, we're gonna go up, and because of that, the person would go the completely wrong direction. That would be horrible. So instead, we simply keep the brakes on, power the down again, then release them. You'll notice that happening in the system with the brakes and the observers as a key function powered by the magenta circuits, which will appear later on. Next, let's discuss how we can actually connect the floors together for the machine to move through. Here is a diagram to illustrate this. Each repeater line is showing a connection between the floors. The repeaters point towards the destination floor, and the pressure plates are where the machine is sourced from. You can see each individual floor has its own wire going towards it, and any other floor can activate that floor. But if you connected the repeaters up correctly in the final equivalence, you could also tell which way the system is coming from, and that will be important later. As you can see, it will only activate the one destination floor. To make the control panel to power this system, I decided to use lecterns. These can have an individual signal strength for each page in their books. However, if the maximum signal strength will always be 15. As you see, this top set of lecterns has a 15-page book. Each page turned will make the signal strength go up by 1. The bottom lectern, however, doesn't do evenly. So because I need to fit this into an even space, and I don't want a 5-page book taking up 15 spaces behind the elevator when it doesn't need to, I created this funky little system to compare if the signal strength is above that of the next page, so that it would only need 1 extra or 2 extra blocks in the back. Then I realized this could turn into a red coder, which basically outputs only the exact signal that is in and turns off any less than it. So that way it will only activate 1 floor at a time when it's given options of any. Or say if it's on the highest floor, only the highest floor's lamp will turn on, which means it's a lot more robust. And then after that I added a little switch so that it only powers the system when the user wants to. From here I ran that into these funky timers, which are based on the original Etho hopper clock, so thank you very much to Etho for making this initial system possible. At the time my theory was, if you have the timer, the brakes system that stops the elevator will stay on until it arrives if you fill it up with enough blocks. That system is now a bit outdated to me, but it worked at the time. But how do these timers actually work? So Minecraft hoppers have a fun property. They will push an item from itself into another container, which includes other hoppers. They will do this every 2 fits or 0.4 seconds. You see in 0.5 speed. When the item is inside the top hopper, it will output a signal through the comparator. This travels 1 repeater per tick, and as you can see 4 ticks are on at once, so the item moves every 4 ticks periodically. A lot more items in, and add a system that will always stop one hopper by powering it from putting other items into the other hopper. That means all the items will move from one before moving back to the other one. This pile up of items in the one hopper will eventually deactivate the piston once the other hopper becomes empty, and then the other piston that is being powered by all the items will be able to push the redstone block back over again on top of the hopper that is now empty, so it can't push items back into the full hopper, allowing the full hopper to empty back into the previously empty one, as shown by that switch. And using a modified version of this that I saw on Google, unfortunately I've lost the original image now, I was able to make this implement into the final system. And this, as you can see, forms the basis of the original elevator design. So from here, to connect it up, we had to make a system that looks a bit like this. But what is actually different on this new one, in these 4 wires that were not previously here? Well, the first one is this purple wire here. This takes from the lower floors below the current floor. This model is based on a 3rd middle floor of the design. It takes an input when the timers are activated, basically when the elevator is sent to one of those floors. This input powers, through this line, the droppers that send the elevator away. But if the elevator has to go up, it needs to account for something else as well, which is that the brakes would need to turn on and off again. So then it has to go through this magenta system that activates the brakes to power the droppers, then releases the brakes to power the droppers again. Then, after this point, I had to add in the system that actually receives the elevator. This is very simple. It powers on through the timers, through a series of slime block towers going up and down, and will turn off again, theoretically, once the timer is finished, releasing the brakes, and the elevator will then be able to move again. But because the elevator will be received differently from up and down, I had to add a second piece of the system to power the droppers, so that the elevator would be in its default closed state on arrival when it came from above. So that's what that top yellow wire does to differentiate from the bottom one. This powers that extra piston that you can see extending at the bottom there. Apart from that, there is no difference between the lot. And then, basically from here, ignoring the doors, which were a separate system, you can see the slime block towers were implemented, and that made the first complete coherent design. Hello and welcome to the in-game footage segment of the video. Now for this one I'm unable to use my shaders due to my PC not having the capability to run them while recording, so I'm sorry about the reduced visual quality, but I hope my commentary will make up for this. So we have here a very nice display of all of the initial variations of the machine, as well as the second variation and the final one all the way at the back. We'll get to that one in a minute. So right now we have this machine. This is the original completed functional elevator system. This will work by itself. From here, anything else is an addition or a modification. So let's go through everything that actually changed from here to the final design. First of all, the call system. This is best explained through this model, in which I'd added in doors, also using flying machines, powered by the presence of the elevator in the machine, landing and leaving. This was taken directly from the pink section, which is basically how the yellow wire interacts with the blue and cyan. Door circuit is green, uses this latch here, this set reset latch, where one side will turn on the latch and the other side will turn it off. But if you input this when it is turned on, it will do nothing. Input this side when it is turned off, it will do nothing. And then this runs into the call system by deciding to block or allow these basically piston switches to allow a redstone line to pass through here, which this whole system here, the white, is how it actually activates the call system. It corresponds to a floor in the system. So you're on the 3rd floor here, and the 3rd floor tower powers up and down from the 3rd floor instead of into it, like in the other ones over here. This is the reverse of that, technically. It will tell every floor in the system, hey, I want to go send the elevator to the 3rd floor please, do you have it? And if it has it, the pistons will then go, yes, I have it, and push it down to allow the redstone current from the redstone block at the end of this slime tower, or that would be, to pass through into this, allowing this lectern on page 3 to power into the side of the original system, activating it as if a user did it from inside. This is a very overcomplicated way to do this, and I don't know why this is the way I went for it, but it was. But if the floor is not the one with the elevator on it, these blocks will be retracted like this, and no redstone signal will pass through. This stops the machine from activating every timer when it only needs to activate one, because the timers can break a lot of things, the flaw in their design. Then for version 2, I started by moving this whole system on top of the machine, cutting the middleman of the lecterns and allowing it to go straight to the timers. This saved a lot of time. I had to move the lock though onto here, which made the machine a lot taller if you didn't add doors in it though, unfortunately. But at least now they were a lot less necessary, and if I remember correctly, yeah, they were no longer necessary at all to have the doors in, which is a good thing. From here I then tried to compact this system through these iterations. Unfortunately, this was not a successful attempt. This is the closest I managed to get, but I had to take a pause from this project after this, unfortunately. However, after this, I came back to the project a few months later and realized, what if I made it smaller again? At this stage, I recoded all of the colors in the system, so I'm just going to pause here for a minute and let you read what they are now. The red circuit is to select the floor now. Orange sends the signal between the floors. Yellow is basically the catch circuit. Lime green stops the machine. Dark green will activate the machine. Light blue will basically reset the machine after the brake circuit needs to turn off. Magenta will set off the machine, and purple will send off the machine down when magenta sends it upwards. And then white, grey and dark grey are all just for the call system. So now I compacted the yellow side, the magenta side, to make them a lot thinner on the machine's overall profile. And I also labeled these to show how it works. So if the elevator is static, or if the platform is static, and the elevator does not need to be landing on this platform, this set reset latch will have a block in this side. If the elevator is moving towards this platform, the block will go onto this side, powering this, goes into this, turns on the brakes. If the elevator is going from above, this block here is going to power into this line, activating this specialized line that will push the redstone block into here. Now this upward downwards can be a bit difficult to read. Upward stop means it's stopping while moving up. Downward stop means it's stopping while moving down, so coming from above, which is when the machine would end in an open position, as I explained earlier, and this is what activates this section that will power the little observer section on the bottom of the machine to stop it before anything goes wrong in the next use. From here I took this system, and I added a blue line here to disable these set reset latches when the machine arrives, using a redstone block embedded under the machine, but it will pass through this every time it stops, no matter how it goes, if it's going from above or below, because it's set in the top machine, which will, because it's set in the bottom of the machine here. If it's coming from below, it has to be pulled up. If it's coming from above, it will go past this twice before it eventually comes to rest. From here I attempted to compact the machine further, and add doors to some degree of success, but from here I decided to move on from this version because I had another great idea on how to improve it even more. And that idea came from, after a lot more iterative testing with this, to eventually move this version, where the green and lime wires could take an input from the system underneath the redstone on top of them, because observers can pass directly into this, and pistons and droppers can both take 1-tick pulses as an input. So I was able to use observers to place the redstone on, get the redstone into it. And then also with this I had to stagger the top and bottom ones so that one did not impact the other one. As if I put the redstone dust here underneath this redstone dust, when I powered the lime line, the green line would also power, which would mess the system a lot. And is not ideal. But now it all runs on 1-tick pulses, which changed the way the system has to read things a lot. But thankfully, it made it so that the side profile was massively reduced. I also had to then run the grey core system wire at floor level through here, which is a consistent trait with the final design. However, in the final design it's replaced with leaf stone to reduce the risk of damaging or interacting with the rails. From here I attempted to compact it a bit more, and unfortunately these final designs just didn't quite work. But after that I moved on to the best decision I made, replacing the lectern system with an item filter system. Now each floor can be only 1 block deep into the back of the system, and you no longer have a limit of 15 floors, which is something I was thinking of from the beginning on trying to eliminate. Now the limit is basically infinite, as long as you can get the system to transport on a minecart loaded all the way down. And I continued to try to build this in the profile of the machine as it was. Unfortunately this was really difficult, adding in the call systems and everything just didn't quite work out in this version. I think I got really close to making it finally work, but in the end I just couldn't do it. But then I tried again with an even smaller version using this style of item filter and a minecart instead of water to reduce the size even more, which helped me get a lot more things fit into the space, as you can see. Now this is something that would be kept into the final design. Unfortunately it took me a few attempts to get it right, as you can see. While this is a section by section development process shown, it just didn't quite catch on to the final versions. However, only a few options later you get to the final one, which the final, confusingly, is this one here. All of this down here is an exploded diagram of that, wherein we will now go through as well. So as you can see in the final design, the platform is basically the same as in the original machine, with the addition of the compacted wiring system. From here we have the minecart input system, a beautiful little machine. It will run a redstone line, the redstone output through these torches, and these blocks here, these target blocks, to make things nice and compact with the item filters, will also power node blocks, which update these observers to power the orange lines. Some of these node blocks are shown here in the purple system. The reason why the purple system here needs to power with a 1-tick pulse to the observers in the machine, but it uses a piston, is because these observers here get powered twice when this machine activates because of the turning on and off of the node blocks with the redstone. So the piston will get powered twice, move the observer away and back again, and only when it goes under the block will it actually power the rails, making the two pulses into just one, in a nice and simple way. In the magenta circuits, which is a bit more complicated, does what it did before, tells the machine how to go up and it will run through underneath the purple system. In fact, it actually replaces one of the blocks of the purple system in its own wiring, which is what the block that the observer runs into is. And it uses a hopper clock to get the perfect timings for making the elevator do its double break, send, break, release cycle as fast as possible. I don't know why this is the best one I could get, but it just is. Then we add in the orange vertical towers. These use observers this time, unlike slime blocks, because slime blocks are just not great for putting next to each other because they can interfere with other redstone around them, and they can stick to blocks and they can break a lot more easily than observer towers can, which are nice robust systems that could even work underwater, which is nice. This outputs then into all of the yellow systems later on. But then to inverse this, we have the coal system, which gets fully implemented nice here with a leafstone birch line directly into the corresponding floor's outward tower that goes up and down. The floors from beneath push lines up, the floors from above in the elevator push lines down, and they will always trigger the send now for the elevator. So if you call from any floor, every floor will then send towards that floor, whether the elevator is in it or not, because now that there's no timers, there is no need to worry about where the elevator is actually need to start from, since there is no risk of breaking the machine by doing so. However, there will be a need to worry about where it's going to come from when you're looking at the landing, which we'll get to in a minute. Next we have this piece of the machine. We all know what this is already. This is the yellow set reset latch for the brakes that stops the machine when it's landing. For some reason in this one it's activated already when it shouldn't be. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but I must have cut things apart wrong when dismantling it. Next, a building on this. The system that accompanies the yellow one, which is the white one, which is the top set reset latch that controls the reset for the downwards and upwards stopping. This one uses the fact that while the brakes are still on, this line is powered, so you can power into this magenta wall without activating this again, as it's already turned on. So you get the observer running into this to power this block down here without getting in the way of these grey circuits to power the movement on sending with the call. It's a really difficult thing to fit, but I thankfully managed to get it to work. Then you have the new, the implemented blue circuit. The standard redstone block goes to observers into this, and I used another leafstone wire here to avoid interference with the pistons, which can get easily powered by updates to the blocks, which is not great if you're trying to prevent the machine from splitting apart in weird ways. This will just simply turn off both of these latches whenever it gets needed to do so as the machine is stopping. But next up we have this funky system, the final new addition that makes everything come together perfectly. And the way this works is basically, it asks, is the elevator currently stopped at this platform? In this latch here. It'll turn on when that is the case, turning on this comparator which retracts these pistons, allowing a call signal to pass into the orange circuit. And if it's not there, the call system will not allow the signal to pass into the orange circuit, which means that the signal will be sent from a different floor instead when it gets to the correct one. It gets powered, the latch gets powered on to tell the machine is stopped once the blue circuit activates. This circuit here. And it gets told that it is it gets told that the machine is not there anymore the second that any other system tells it to leave the platform. And basically this is needed because the elevator going up and down, because it has to stop and get a different response when it stops, the machine still needs to know which way it's coming from when it's on the way to the destination floor. So this just is used to send the braking inputs to the orange circuit, which will go through the yellow one and maybe the white one. Since the call system only powers one of these columns, in this case the third one, if the signal goes up to the 5th floor and the machine is stopped at the 5th floor at the time, the system the elevator needs to tell the system, yeah, I'm on the 5th floor, I'm coming down to you, so you'll need to use the white system. Or if it's on the 1st floor, it goes down here, tells it, hey, I'm on the 1st floor, you don't need to use the white system when I stop. And it goes back up again, stops, all good. That is, I'm sorry about the word salad that I've just presented here, but that is everything. And now we have hit the final stage of the design, and I am just so amazingly proud of it. And there you have it. The whole elevator process from start to finish. Version 1 to, I think it's version 17 as we stand today. I am signing out this video with a time-lapse of me building the showcase elevator from the start of the video. If you have an interest in the actual block by block process someone might take to build this in their own world, I'll leave this playing at the end. Thank you so much for watching. It's been amazing producing this project and I've loved every second of it. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as well. If this video gets some good attention, I will produce an actual tutorial on how to build this for the people who can't tell from this video. That's okay. Knowing how this thing works is really not the easiest thing in the world. It's not a simple system, and I myself get confused by it on the regular. But yeah, thank you very much. I want to thank Mumbo Jumbo for being the first person to teach me Redstone, CraftyMasterman and mattbatwings as well for the Summer of Awesome Redstone competition that pushed me to make this video. And also to finish this project, because I was having a lot of procrastination about it before now. And thank you. Have a nice day.